In the latest episode, a pivotal moment unfolds. Approaching Haejun in the lobby, the interpreter delivers an utterly unexpected message from the VIP patient. The VIP's urgent request to convey his heartfelt congratulations to Haejun catches her completely off guard. Meanwhile, at Ihan's house, Kang presents Ihan with a ring, emphasizing that Ihan's mother insisted he would need it for an impending conversation with Dr. Haejun. Ihan, with deliberate slowness, admits he's already broached the topic. Kang probes further, asking if Haejun rejected the proposal. Ihan vehemently denies it, clarifying that while he didn't speak directly to Haejun, he made his intentions known to the VIP patient, expressing his desire to marry Haejun imminently. The escalating situation doesn't end there. First, former schoolmates, then pupils and fellow alumni, and now even an unexpected foreigner enter the fray. Ihan realizes he cannot afford to leave Haejun alone for even a moment. He instructs Kang to convey his deepest gratitude to his mother for the exquisite jewelry. However, Kang raises a crucial point: if Ihan has already spoken to Haejun, shouldn't he deliver these gifts to her post-haste? Should he take it upon himself to ascertain whether Haejun is still at the hospital? Ihan casually remarks that Haejun is on call today. Suddenly, he rises from the sofa, his steps deliberate as he confronts Kang with a probing question: does Kang believe him to be untrustworthy? Kang, taken aback by the unexpected question, struggles to find an answer, his mind reeling from the implication. Ihan continues, suggesting that he's merely pondering whether he tends to lack faith in others. Seeking reassurance, Ihan questions Kang further, wondering if Kang doubts his appreciation for the items his mother sent over. Ihan challenges Kang, asking if his personal preferences truly matter. Shouldn't he, Ihan wonders, prepare at least one thing himself? In response, Kang offers to explore independent boutiques, but Ihan reveals he's contemplating other options. As Kang locks eyes with Ihan, a chill runs down his spine, pondering where Ihan's search might lead him next. Haejun settles in for a coffee break with her pupils, but the conversation takes a turn when Kyungmin raises the topic of the heart transplant center. He speculates that the board members might finally address it in the upcoming budget discussions. Kyungmin expresses his surprise, noting that they could have easily brushed it aside during Dr. Park's absence. He adds, almost dismissively, that it's good news for them. Haejun nods in agreement outwardly, but inwardly she wonders if this development is all Ihan's doing. Her thoughts drift to earlier in the day when Ihan had asked to see her, only to be met with her apology due to her on-call status. Haejun begins to question if perhaps she had been too harsh in her response. Shaking herself back to the present, she advises her pupils to seize the opportunity to rest while they can. As she descends the stairs, memories of Dr. Kim's cryptic words about Ihan's impending good news flood her mind. Haejun can't shake the feeling that whatever Ihan has to share may not bode well for her. She ponders whether the wealthy elite like Ihan truly commit to one person while intending to marry another. The mere thought of Ihan now fills her with discomfort, especially recalling how she struggled to hide her unease when he entered the VIP wing earlier. Considering Ihan's stature as the eldest son of the Seomoon Group and chairman of Jaeil Hospital, Haejun fears that his influential family may have a significant say in his marital decisions. While their relationship is still relatively new, she fears it wouldn't be difficult for them to dispose of her if deemed necessary. However, uncertainty lingers: will Ihan defy his family's wishes, or is he truly beholden to their influence when it comes to matters of the heart? Haejun attempts to push aside her troubling thoughts, but they persist, making it increasingly difficult for her to face Ihan. Suddenly, a voice breaks through her reverie, calling out, "Perfect timing." Startled, she turns to find Ihan standing before her, asking why she's there. In a defensive response, Haejun questions his presence as well. Ihan steps closer, his gaze intense, pressing her for an explanation. Why is she there if she couldn't see him earlier? Caught off guard, Haejun tries to clarify that she intended to rest but needed to clear her mind first, so she sought solace among the trees and flowers. But deep down, she admits to herself that she longed to see Ihan. Without a word, Ihan takes her hand and pulls her into a gentle embrace, whispering softly that he'll help her find peace and rest. Ihan watches Haejun as she falls into a deep sleep in the car, reflecting on her genuine need for rest. As she slowly wakes, she questions the time and notices his coat draped over her. Surprised, she asks if it belongs to him. Ihan's gaze meets hers, his tone tinged with both amusement and reproach, remarking on her immediate recognition of his coat but seeming to overlook him. Haejun shrugs, diverting the conversation by mentioning the time and her need to return soon. Ihan assures her he'll wake her before long, but she frets about being seen together. Ihan dismisses her concern, suggesting it's too late to worry about such matters. He gently chides her, questioning if she's been taking care of herself amidst her busyness. Haejun, with a tinge of sadness, insists she hasn't been pretending to be busy, she truly is. Yihan, undeterred, presses on, noting her late-night visit to his office floor. He probes whether it was due to her busyness or perhaps because she missed him. Haejun's patience wears thin, snapping back that she had her reasons and he doesn't know everything. Yihan cuts through the tension, asking pointedly what it is he doesn't know. Haejun fumbles with her words, growing visibly nervous. Yihan takes the lead, recounting instances where he felt Haejun avoided him, avoiding eye contact, switching elevators upon seeing him. He acknowledges her professional obligations as a doctor but notes the absence of patience when she used them as an excuse to avoid him. With a directness that commands attention, Yihan orders Haejun to speak her mind. Finally finding her voice, Haejun begins to explain, mentioning something she heard at her friend Snow's wedding ceremony. Before she can elaborate, Yihan interjects, expressing his intention to discuss that very day. He adamantly advises her against leaving their current place, even if she's been scouted by her old professor. Haejun, perhaps with a different point in mind, is interrupted by a message on her phone. She informs Yihan of her need to return, and he acquiesces, agreeing to accompany her. However, he adds a promise: they will revisit this conversation soon, ensuring it finds its proper conclusion. In the hospital, Juno suggests that Haejun should take it easy, warning her about the possibility of indigestion if she doesn't slow down. He then playfully asks if she still loves pork cutlets, despite having them daily. Haejun responds with a touch of humor, noting how she can practically hear the oil and breading every time she speaks now, but she doesn't see it as a problem. Juno offers his own cutlet to Haejun, jesting that it's a display of true love. Despite having little, he's still willing to share. He teasingly suggests he never truly got over her. However, Haejun questions his understanding of love. She explains that, for her, love isn't about giving someone everything she has, not even her food. To her, love doesn't mean sacrificing everything. Instead, she believes in holding on to what's important. Reflecting on her own journey, Haejun shares that she's always believed in persevering through challenges. She recounts how she worked hard from nothing until she achieved greatness, using her skills to save lives. Juno advises Haejun to take a break and rest. He then brings up the discussion about the heart transplant center and asks if she's having trouble preparing for it. He suggests seeking help from other doctors, but Haejun quickly dismisses the idea, expressing her lack of trust in their abilities and self-centered attitudes. She asserts that she's almost finished and can manage perfectly well on her own. As they finish their meal, Haejun realizes she can't find her notebook in her coat. Hastily, she makes her way towards the changing room, suspecting she may have left it there. While walking, she suddenly stops upon overhearing a conversation. A male doctor is speaking about her, criticizing her for taking her time during surgery despite pressure from Dr. Oh to speed up. He refers to her as headstrong and an outcast in the CS department. Haejun, unable to ignore the comments, approaches the male doctor and confronts him, demanding to know who he's referring to as an outcast. The male doctor is visibly startled by Haejun's sudden presence and the chill in her voice. In the car, Yihan's mind races with thoughts and speculations about Haejun. Is she truly considering a move to another hospital? Has this been weighing on her for days? Does she believe he'll simply let her go? Suddenly, he notices his jacket and reaches for it, only for a diary to tumble out. Yihan recalls it as the same diary Haejun always carries, and a grin spreads across his face. As he flips through the pages, he notices something tucked inside. Retrieving it, he recognizes it as the first and last handwritten reply he ever sent to her. He's struck by the realization that a woman who has treasured such a simple response for a decade has profoundly changed his life. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Haejun persists in questioning the male doctor about who he referred to as an outcast. The doctor begins apologizing, claiming he hadn't realized he was speaking so loudly. Annoyed, Haejun insists he spoke loudly intentionally. The doctor attempts to clarify, explaining that he had merely been observing her surgery with Dr. Choi earlier, with no ill intentions. Haejun's anger flares as she demands to know what Dr. Choi said and if she inconvenienced his team or harmed the patient in any way. She asserts that the worst consequence was a slight delay for lunch, hardly worth discussing so loudly. Juno intervenes, urging Haejun to wrap things up as she's in a rush. However, Haejun refuses to let the slander against the CS department slide, emphasizing that while she's in a hurry, it's not urgent enough for her to ignore such accusations. Turning back to the doctor, she questions if his team values speed above all else and whether he could take full responsibility if a patient suffered as a result. She praises Dr. Choi's thoroughness and emphasizes the importance of a doctor's undivided attention to the patient. She asserts that she would prefer a doctor like Dr. Choi, who meticulously checks every detail, over one who rushes to set records. Suddenly, Chansung interrupts, shouting Haejun's name and capturing everyone's attention. Haejun tries to explain to Chon-sung that his disciple is speaking inappropriately, but he dismisses her concerns, stating that he doesn't care as he's simply voicing what others have been thinking. Haejun feels like banging her head against a brick wall when dealing with Chon-sung, so she storms away from the conversation, firmly suggesting that Chon-sung needs to get his act together with his OS team. Chon-sung, ever the provocateur, taunts Haejun, insinuating that she's too important to waste her time on small fry like them, hence her departure. Fuming, Haejun whirls back to retort to Chon-sung, warning him to watch his tongue. But Chon-sung persists, his tone growing more aggressive, questioning why Haejun is suddenly fleeing. Does she have something to hide? He slyly hints at rumors of her and the chairman's alleged rendezvous in hotels, instantly capturing everyone's attention. With a venomous edge, Chon-sung continues, suggesting that Haejun's perceived haughtiness stems from having powerful backing in the hospital. He muses aloud about her past, insinuating that her move from Hankook University Hospital to jail was all part of a calculated plan. Fueled by anger and frustration, Juno snaps, grabbing Shansung's collar and threatening to knock him out. Haejun tries to intervene, but Juno brushes her off, insisting she let him deal with Chon-sung, who seems intent on stirring up trouble. Feeling the tension rising, Haejun anxiously wonders how she'll manage this escalating situation. Chon-sung forcefully swats Juno's hand away, adamantly stating that Haejun has nothing to say because everything he's saying is undeniably true. Annoyed and exasperated, Haejun firmly advises Chon-sung to shut his mouth. She asserts that she's only at jail to repay a debt, and his crude fantasies hold no weight in reality. Shansung's shouting escalates, questioning if Haejun is really going to continue raising her voice. Undeterred, Haejun boldly shouts back, emphasizing that if she doesn't speak up, who will listen? She passionately asserts that a hospital is a place where one must assert themselves loudly to be heard. She's resolute in her determination to perform more surgeries to prove the indispensability of the CS department. Making her stance clear, Haejun declares she's never done anything she's ashamed of. Chon-sung mocks her, claiming he saw her heading to a hotel room with the chairman. Haejun defiantly exclaims, questioning why it's a problem. They're both consenting adults, not cheating on anyone. Chon-sung loudly insists that Haejun admitted it, accusing her of lacking shame and only being interested in money. Haejun erupts in frustration, shouting that Yihan's wealth drives her crazy too. He's simply too perfect. If only he were an average guy or worse off than her, things would be much simpler. She's already overwhelmed because she doesn't know how to handle him. Suddenly, a voice from behind Haejun startles her, it's Yihan. He questions why she didn't just tell him if that was the issue, expressing his concern for her well-being. Haejun starts to utter Yihan's name but stops herself, addressing him as Mr. Seo instead. However, Yihan gently rebuffs this formality, stating that it's too late for formalities in their relationship, and he wouldn't want it any other way. He adds that if Haejun had been honest from the beginning, he would have given up everything for her. Apologizing, Haejun explains she didn't mean to cause a scene in the hospital. Yihan reassures her, saying it's fine as it brought him to her. Then, he turns his attention to Chon-sung, glaring at him. Yihan remarks that it sounded like Chon-sung was in the middle of a very intriguing conversation. Flustered, Chon-sung tries to explain that he wasn't planning to discuss it with Yihan. Yihan steps closer to Chon-sung, pressing him on how much he saw and suggesting they clear up any misunderstandings. Chon-sung begins to defend his point, mentioning Yihan's presence with Haejun at a hotel on Christmas Eve. Yihan firmly asserts that they were indeed at the hotel, but he has no clue why Chon-sung is so agitated about it. Does he believe they were conspiring to shut down the hospital and start a new business? Or perhaps he thinks Haejun was soliciting something from him? Chon-sung denies these assumptions, but implies that it's obvious what people would think about a man and a woman meeting at a hotel on Christmas Eve at that hour. Yihan interrupts him, reminding Chon-sung that as a businessman, he frequents hotels often and should broaden his perspective. With hesitance but persistence, Chon-sung insinuates that Yihan should make his story believable. Is he truly suggesting that they did nothing but talk business that night? Yihan grins, revealing the truth that not only did they discuss business, but he also proposed to Haejun. Shock ripples through the cafeteria at Yihan's revelation, and even Haejun herself can hardly believe what she just heard. Yihan continues, expressing his confusion at everyone's assumptions about their meeting. He wants to set the record straight right then and there, so he confesses to everyone present that he likes Haejun very much. From the first day he encountered her at the hospital, he couldn't take his eyes off her, and she consumed his thoughts to the point where he couldn't focus on anything else. Unable to bear it any longer, he decided to make any excuse just to see her again, and fate seemed to be on his side. Haejun recognizes this story as the exact one she told Yihan to relay to his mother if she inquired about how they met. Yihan emphasizes that his feelings for Haejun have remained unchanged, and he desires to continue being open with each other and doing exactly what they've been doing up until now. He turns towards Haejun, asking if she also envisions their future together in the same way. Yihan also adds that Haejun can give him her answer when they are alone. Haejun immediately dashes out of the cafeteria upon hearing this. As Haejun leaves, Yihan notices murmurs from the bystanders, prompting him to turn towards them and comment that it seems like they were expecting more. To this, everyone unanimously shouts, "No, sir." Yihan orders them to return to their meals if that's the case. Yihan further adds that he believes he has fully explained himself, but if anyone still doesn't understand, they can come to his office. He's willing to keep explaining until they grasp it. However, he makes it clear that the offer is only open to those who have never had a crush on Dr. Haejun. While leaving, Yihan stops Chonsung and asks if his girlfriend, meaning Dr. Haejun, ever confessed her feelings to him or acted in a way that made him believe she was interested. After receiving no answer from Chonsung, Yihan comments that Chonsung shouldn't be afraid to tell him if that ever happens. Then, in a furious whisper, Yihan leans closer to Chonsung and warns him not to try anything funny with Haejun, or he'll regret it. Haejun dashes through the hospital corridors in a frenzy until she finally reaches the hospital's indoor garden, where she freezes and comes to a halt. Yihan follows behind her, calmly remarking that Haejun has walked far enough and should stop. Turning back towards Yihan, Haejun firmly asks why he followed her and expresses concern about being seen. Yihan steps closer, questioning whether she truly believes there's anyone left in the hospital who doesn't know about them. He doubts it. Taking a seat, Haejun expresses her discomfort with Yihan openly declaring their relationship in front of everyone. Yihan counters, asking where else he should have said it. When Haejun urges him to be serious, Yihan replies that they've already come this far, so what can't they do? Haejun asserts that Yihan's behavior wasn't like him at all. While she's willing to do anything, they can't force the impossible to happen. No amount of effort could transform her into a suitable daughter-in-law for a Chaebol family. She passionately exclaims that this is something she can't change. Confused by the term Chaebols, Yihan asks for clarification. Haejun calmly acknowledges that his family is likely searching for the perfect partner for him. Yihan's response of "so what" irks Haejun. She expresses frustration, saying he should never have confessed his feelings if he didn't understand the implications. Feeling cornered, Yihan wonders if Haejun intends to break up with him. Before he can inquire further, Haejun passionately pleads for more time. Despite knowing she can't fit the mold of a perfect Chaebol daughter-in-law, she's determined to become a better person. She vows to enhance her skills and become a doctor patients can rely on, and a colleague others can be proud of. Even if she can't fulfill the role perfectly, she wants to be someone anyone would be proud to know. Yihan questions whether that's the reason why Haejun is asking for more time. Haejun's eyes well up with tears as she asks Yihan if he's implying he can't even wait for her, despite her willingness to go to such lengths. Unexpectedly, Yihan coughs out a laugh. Angrily, Haejun questions him, demanding to know if he finds the situation amusing. She refuses to give up on him or her work, insisting on seeing things through to the end, but clarifies that doesn't necessarily mean marriage. Yihan asserts that for him, it does mean marriage. This surprises Haejun, prompting her to ask for clarification. Yihan questions if it isn't obvious. Still confused, Haejun presses for more explanation, but Yihan adds to the conversation, questioning if she's enjoying playing with his feelings. He feels driven to madness by her actions, yet she hesitates about marriage now. He wonders why she can take such good care of her patients and junior doctors, but struggles to take care of him. Haejun innocently insists that it's not true and she will take care of him. Yihan counters by pointing out that she's saying no to marriage. Haejun clarifies that she's not saying no, she just believes that for something as important as marriage, they should take things one step at a time. Yihan grins, teasingly commenting that she does want to marry him, as if she's only just realized it. Taking a deep breath, Haejun advises Yihan to wait for her, assuring him that she is serious and always keeps her promises. Yihan then sits on his knees in front of Haejun, holding up the same note she gave him 12 years ago. He acknowledges her words and expresses his hope that she will keep her promise. However, he wonders if it's truly necessary to wait any longer, as it feels like fate has brought them together. Confused, Haejun asks what he means by that. Yihan responds by asking her, "Will you marry me, Ms. Future Talent?" He then shows her the letter with her signature mark. Haejun immediately recognizes it and clutches Yihan's hands, tears welling in her eyes, as she asks if it's really been him all along. Yihan grins, affirming that indeed, who else would wait for her for 12 years? Finally, Haejun meets the person who kept faith in her all those years ago.